When did you realize that hard work does not always pay off? When they reward you for getting your work done well by giving you everyone else's work to do. Pretty much every job I've had. Easily retail. Those performance-based raises are deliberately rigged to not give people the best raises. I only really understood how much when I became a manager and was overruled on how much to give my employees a raise when I gave them a 5/5. I was told, and I quote, "No one is a 5/5. She came in whenever we called, stayed late whenever we needed, was the epitome of the perfect employee, and was well loved by everyone that shopped there." They changed her evaluation from a 5/5, which was I believe a 50-ish cent raise, still not enough, to a 3/5, which was a 10-cent raise. She quit a few weeks after I told her, and no one we've hired has been half as productive as she was. I find it super interesting that companies don't realize that it's better to pay someone 20% more that works as hard as 2 people than to hire 2 people. They are stupid. 99% companies doesn't understand that one happy employee do a better job than 2 unhappy. Worked this office job for 9 years. Ever since I turned 16. They kept giving me responsibilities. Never any pay raise beyond the minimum they had to, all the while telling me how I was indispensable. Then COVID hit, and they laid off all my coworkers. They told me I could stay, but for less hours than before, and definitely no pay raise, just more responsibilities. Either working from home, or in an empty office. I declined the offer and quit right then and there. Felt pretty cheated though. I think the dangling of the carrot is something I would tell most young folks to not follow. Get some experience and a few skills and move on. Companies will always dangle that carrot, that the big pay raise is coming soon. Even if they offer it instead of the usual 2-3% call raise, it ends up being 7-8%, which is fine. But likely you'll see much larger increases hopping around early in your career. So glad I took the pay raises moving to a new job every 2 years. Apostrophe. Seriously, not even me looking. Just a random call sometimes from a recruiter. I ask for 20% more of what I'm making. Get 30%. Stupid not to take it. So I always moved. Went from 45k to 75k. That's how you supposed to do it. The first time I had a real job. Turns out that working harder than your coworkers does not impress them. This working harder usually just results in you being given more work and responsibilities that you either have to fit into the same hours with the same wage or into unpaid overtime. I honestly wish that had been my outcome. Instead, I was just straight up disliked and eventually pushed out of the position. This happened at least twice. Like most people here, my first job, I was working at a pizza place known for letting the customer bake the pizzas at home. I was working minimum wage, but I felt like I'd been there a while and wanted to move up. So I talked to my boss about a possible raise. She said she'd keep an eye on my performance over the next month and see if I deserved it. Now, there was another employee there by the name of Jimmy. Jimmy was great if there was a rush, because in those instances, just having an extra pair of hands makes a difference. But in all other aspects of running the store, he was useless. He slacked off and left his work for the rest of us to do. Of course, the manager loved him. After a month of picking up every shift I could and doing every unpleasant task assigned to me, my boss tells me that I've been doing a fantastic job and that I earned my raise. I looked in my check and I was now making an extra $0. 50/hours. Not great, but I was 16 at the time and it felt like the squeaky wheel got the grease. Until I find out that Jimmy also got a $0.50 raise and everyone else did too. Turns out the minimum wage was increasing nationally and they were legally obligated to give everyone a raise. When I confronted her about this, she turned the tables on me, telling me that talking about my pay with other employees was unprofessional. She went on vacation shortly after that. I taped my 2-week notice to her door the day after she left. TL. Doctor, I worked my butt off for a minuscule raise only to find out that the raise was legally required anyways. This is the thing that sucks the most about promotions. Managers promote people that they get along with best, not those who have the best performance. I'm not a social butterfly, but I'm a good project manager. yet not being a social butterfly is what will hold me back most in life. I'm not socially awkward. I'm just introverted and have a more keep your head down and work mentality when I'm just in much less of a socialize about our weekend on my break type. Close bracket. Worked hard at my first job for an entire year after a $0.20 raise. Got a $0.10 raise after that year. What a guy that avoided work got $0.40. So I avoided working too hard for a year and got a $0.40 raise. No bullshit. Also passed up a crew leader position to work in an easier area. Then they made me a crew leader anyway in the new area. I didn't even ask. The company I work for now does some ass backwards stuff too. It drives me nuts. Progress takes time, and there's a fine line between getting stuck because you're too good at something and getting moved on to promote you. I worked 4 years at a Walmart, almost constantly being praised as one of the best employees on my shift/team. Now what kind of reward did I get for this? A raise? A promotion? Nope. I got a small pin I was allowed to wear that just said something like management appreciates me. I was a really bit of a people pleaser when I was younger. Tried to do everything to make life for everyone easier. Turns out that they just took advantage on me. Givers need to know their limits because takers don't have any. So true. I need this plastered on my wall. Thanks. When I realized I get paid the same as coworkers who are putting in bare minimum. Americans are largely captive by an illusory belief that there's something wrong with revealing their salary. In essentially every case, this reduces the information asymmetry which employers exploit to their advantage at employees' expense. Always share your salary freely and openly, and ask others this. It's the best way to get more pay and more fair pay for everyone, which only reduces employers' wealth. Currently working for a company that regularly makes mistakes on payroll. If I didn't constantly check in with coworkers, we'd all be underpaid. I've caught mistakes at least 7 different times. By being taken advantage of repeatedly, go above and beyond the expectations in hopes to advance. You now have to do that advanced job with way more work for no pay increase and in less time than the people getting paid more than you. Don't ever let an employer know you're capable or willing to do significantly more work than anyone else for the same pay. If an opening arises and you have been consistent, you're more likely to get the position than someone who does twice the work you do for the same pay just because you follow the book more. This thread is a goldmine of career advice. I did something similar and ended up exactly how you described. There wasn't one particular moment for me, but the saying it's better to be lucky than good is oh so true at times. Sure, working hard helps, but being at the right place at the right time is often overlooked by those that purely equate hard work with success. Edit. I do believe that working hard can give you more opportunities for luck and success, but it's not guaranteed. Malcolm Gladwell talks about right place, right time and outliers. It's fascinating. Also made me realize how much luck there is in succeeding. Sometimes we do all the work, and it's not at the right place or right time, so we still fail. Also having access to those places and time available to be right at. This is how systemic racial and CL-bit inequalities can be perpetuated without ill intent by either party. If you are a poor kid in a slum in a far-flung part of the world, your ability to become an outlier becomes exceptionally lower than a middle CL-but white dude in America. In the last 5 years, learned hard work hardly ever pays off. It's about working the system more than anything. The catch is that I suck at working the system. Dude/lady, I'm not an but kisser at work and hate work politics. I just want to do my best, get paid, recognized and given a raise, and send me home. I don't care about stupid employee appreciation pizza parties or Christmas parties. Just give me money. It was eye-opening to get my first corporate job supervising in a manufacturing company and realize how much adults act worse than elementary students, and the fact they are being motivated the same way. Pizza parties. 19 years old. I was working for a pet store inside a depth store. Separate company. I was the assistant manager. Third in line. The assistant manager lived like 40 miles away, so she wasn't there very often, and the manager was being treated for ovarian cancer and lived 20 miles away. I lived 1 mile away. Keep in mind that, even though I wasn't the manager, I was ordering thousands of dollars of stuff every week, calling the supply company, unloading it, stocking it, keeping records, etc., training new employees. During one January snowstorm in New England, we got hit with 2 feet of snow overnight. I got called to go in, since the store had no power. I walked a mile in 2 feet of snow trying not to get hit by the fishtailing cars. I get there at 8 AM. And they let me in, while the few customers standing outside are pissed. Fuck me. So I spend the entire day, 8 hours, taking care of the fish, birds, mammals, snakes, etc., changing their litter, feeding them, removing the dead fish, since the tanks were getting cooler with no heat, etc. My boss thanked me. She was great. 6 months later, I show up for my shift and my manager and her sister are standing there. Her sister was manager of another store of ours. Her sister talked to me and explained I was being let go because the quality of my work had dropped. I looked at my boss, whose head had been down, not looking at me. She gave me a look that basically screamed, "This isn't me." This came from above. She didn't say anything other than sorry, but the look told the entire story. I was mad at the sister at the time, but quickly got over it. I realized what was up because I was running the entire store. So no, my quality hadn't slipped. 6 months later, the company went bankrupt and out of business. I laughed. The most insane part to me is that there were pissed customers waiting outside of the pet store in 2 feet of snow. No, they were waiting outside the depth store that the pet store was inside of. They wanted de-icer, shovels, etc. But the store had no power, so no registers. Think Walmart with a separate company doing pets. This was before Walmart was nationwide, and it wasn't Walmart. Every single retail job I ever worked, working harder, faster, smarter than coworkers, never got you a raise or promotion or recognition. It just got you more tired. Not only more tired, but pretty much always punished if you decide to do a normal amount of work for your pay grade because you are tired. Yep, learned really quick to only do the bare minimum that's in my job requirement. And heaven forbid you do something above and beyond and it's not perfect. Then you get in trouble for stepping out of line or making calls above your pay grade. If it's a success, then your manager just takes the credit anyhow. Never do more than you have to and save the energy for something you enjoy. It's a shame. I was raised with a better work ethic, one that I have to actively fight. Really. But corporate America has taught me that that kind of work isn't rewarded. Companies want loyalty without ever offering it in return. When I was proficient at my work and the boss brought in her old husband to replace me, I did the most amount of work on that particular task, the most anyone had ever done. But it wasn't good enough to keep me employed. I also did a great, determined job in the warehouse, but because the boss liked keeping us as casuals and cutting costs wherever possible, and glaring at me, too, I realized that working hard wasn't worth it. So study hard and earn qualifications and become a worthy asset. There's no such thing as indispensable, just expensive to replace. Yeah, right. Worked for a company for a few years in my early 20s. Busted my butt and was essentially doing a manager's job for very little money. Our manager left a while before, and they just had me take on his duties. They employed a 40-year-old guy to help in the warehouse doing basic stuff. They hired him on twice my salary. I brought it up with the owner and asked for a pay rise, laid out why I deserved one, and went about it in the right way. His response was no, as I'm young. The other guy has a family and a house, that's why he's getting paid more. I could have lost my shit. Realized I needed to cut my losses. I quit on the spot. That's always an excuse. Good job recognizing the bullshit. When my house made more money in 3 years than my wife and I both working. RIP those of us without a house. I was working retail overnight, and I worked my butt off, partly to keep from getting tired. My living situation started falling apart, and I had nowhere to go if I had to move. So I was very stressed. My fun boss, who everyone loved, came over to ask why I wasn't working as hard as usual. I told him I was possibly a week from being homeless, and he just kept smiling and repeating the phrase, "You're usually my superstar. I need you to be my superstar." Buddy, my hard work wasn't valued at all. This boss only cared that had been making him look good by accomplishing so much. No one at the store actually cared about me as a person. I've told this story here before, but the truth is I never worked hard again. No matter how hard a job tried to pressure me that something absolutely had to be done, I never worked that hard for anyone ever again. All I have to say is duck your boss. I was probably 16 when I realized we were dirt poor and watched my dad kill himself working 12 hours a day and coming home coughing up black snot. Then when he got sick and went to the hospital due to his lungs, his company let him go and then fought him on unemployment. I wish people understood what coal mining does to you. Multiple times in school, group projects, I always was one of the couple of people who would do their part and then I would have to make up for others not doing anything. Work. 1. I worked my way up to being a shift manager at a gas station that basically allowed me to carry a key to the store and run the daily reports. I got no pay increase. 2. Now I'm a software developer and I found out pretty quickly that if I stayed ahead of the added features curve, that I get no extra praise or recognition. Now, I do still stay ahead of the curve, but I only send out required updates when it's due. Kind of annoying, but it means I do less work in the day. My MO is to allocate enough time to do a group project by myself. I've thankfully never had to use all of that time since high school, but it's nice for preventing procrastination and making sure I don't ever lose points. I've worked blue collar jobs my entire life. It's a good way to pay a mortgage and not much more. If by chance I ever find a way to retire, I'll be too broken down physically to enjoy it. There are 2 Moldovan guys where I worked that would be billionaires if hard work made you rich. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.